Grant joins us now from Park City, Utah. Grant, you're 24 years old. How long have you been dreaming about competing in the Olympics?
Oh man, a long time. Every little kid, you talk to that's in elementary school or middle school, a lot of them want to grow up and be professional athletes. So it's cool to be living the dream right now. And in track and field, the biggest event is the Olympics. So it's a big opportunity for me. It was a bummer that the Olympics were postponed from last year, but I feel a bit more prepared, a little bit older, a little bit stronger, and hopefully we'll have a good shot at making it over to Tokyo.
Yeah, it's been a crazy year. Swimmers need pools. Quite a few were closed during the pandemic. Gyms were closed. A lot of athletes had their training disrupted pretty much anywhere. You can run. So did the pandemic hinder you for training at all?
Yeah, running's a very interesting sport because, you don't really need a full team to practice and run plays and stuff. You don't need a ton of equipment, so you can kind of do it anywhere. So we weren't impacted that much, actually, besides the just general quarantine measures that we had out in Portland, Oregon, where I usually live and train. I cut down my training group, so I was only training with 2 other guys during the height of the pandemic. So that was a bit of a change. Usually I train with anywhere from 10 to 15 guys. But the intensity in the workouts didn't really change. So tried to use the last year as just an opportunity to get a bit better, get more prepared for 2021. So hopefully it all paid off.
What's the craziest thing you had to do to train during this pandemic?
Nothing too crazy, just because you can run pretty much anywhere. The hardest thing was getting on tracks and getting in weight rooms. Portland was pretty strict on quarantine measures and maximum gathering sizes and letting certain things open. So even though, we were professional athletes, it was tough to get on tracks sometimes. Even getting on Nike headquarters was a bit tough at times, just because of the county restrictions we were faced with. But we made it work. You got to adapt, and we certainly didn't have it the worst of anybody. So not too many complaints here, but just finding tracks was sometimes a struggle.
Grant, what attracted you to this sport? Why do you run?
I see running as a very, I don't know if pure is the right word, but a very basic sport. You don't really need much. There's not very high barriers to entry to get in. And it's kind of one-on-one, man-on-man, who can run fastest. There's no coaches to sub you in and out. There's no referees to, change the outcome of the game. It's how fast can you get from point A to point B? And that's a really cool feeling to get on the line and just know that it's you out there. And there's a lot of people behind me, and, I have coaches, family, training partners that have, made all these opportunities there for me. But at the end of the day, you have to get out there and compete. And in that sense, it's really fun. It can be cutthroat in that way too, where, if you lose or you don't do well, it's kind of your own fault. But when things go well, the feeling of, looking at yourself and knowing that you put out this great effort and maybe beat a few people or ran quicker than you ever have, it's kind of cool. It's kind of like pushing the human limit and pushing the limits of yourself. It's really rewarding.
Is there anything better than breaking the tape?
Not much. Maybe the step after breaking the tape, when you get to stop running and catch your breath.
You were a 2-time Gatorade High School cross-country runner of the year, one of only 7 high school runners to break the 4-minute mile mark. You won the 5,000 meters when national championship at Stanford. Success has followed you every step of the way. What is your secret?
I don't know. I've always had good support systems around me. I've always had great coaches, great training partners. Even though, like I mentioned earlier, when you get on the track, you're the only one that can run the race. There are a lot of people involved that kind of set you up to do your best. And I've been fortunate enough to have great support systems. And that sometimes turns into success. Honestly, I've had more failures than success out there, but I'll focus on the successes. I'd say the people around me, surround yourself with good people and good things happen.
Here in Grand Rapids, Greg Meyer grew up here, won the Boston Marathon. Dathan Ritzenheim grew up here, three-time Olympian. Brian Deemer won a steeplechase bronze medal. Why does Michigan churn out so many great distance runners?
Oh, that's a good question. You got to be tough. It's not an easy place to train. It's not like we're in Southern California year round and have perfect weather. Got to adapt to the elements. You got to fight through the winters and do the best with what you have. And I think growing up, just learning, that grit has really helped me. Now that I'm a professional, we don't train in subpar conditions as much. We have perfect weather most of the time, just because we have different resources and are able to travel to different places. But the things I learned growing up and that character that's built, it doesn't really leave you. So yeah, you see a lot of successful runners come out of Michigan, and I'm sure more will continue to.
Which runners influenced you most? Who are people that you strived to be when you were young?
Oh man. Pretty much every course record, every meet record was held by Dathan Ritzenheim when I was growing up. So he was kind of the big name guy that everyone was kind of amazed with. You'd step on a track and you'd see the track record, and it was almost always held by him. So trying to chase after some of the stuff that he left behind. He's a great athlete. He's a coach now, and actually coaches some of my competitors. So it's an interesting dynamic. But yeah, Ritz kind of paved the way for a lot of Michigan athletes, I think.
I know you still have to get there, but it's going to be hot and humid in Tokyo. What do you do to prepare yourself for that type of a climate and that kind of conditions?
The only way to prepare is just to be in hot and humid conditions. There's really nothing more to it than that. You got to expect that it's going to be hard. It's not going to feel good. You're not going to feel like it's 60 degrees and sunny with no wind. Even in Michigan in the summers, it would get pretty windy and humid. So hopefully I can draw upon that a little bit too.
Grant, do not travel advisory was just released. And if you make this Olympic team at the trials, is there anything that would keep you from going to Tokyo and competing under the rings? Honestly, the only thing that would keep me would be if the Olympics were canceled. If I were to make the team, it's, the Olympics only come every 4 years. I'm fully vaccinated. I would take the necessary precautions, and this is a dream of mine. If the Olympics are canceled, then, it's out of my hands. But as of right now, it looks like they're still happening. So we're full steam ahead, fingers crossed. They're happening, but we do know right now that they've said no family or friends will be allowed to travel to Tokyo to watch and compete in these Olympics. How disappointing was that news?
Yeah, very disappointing. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, there's so many people that have been involved in my success so far in my career. And, Olympic Games would be something that I would love to have shared with them. If those are necessary precautions and, then that's what it is. Japan has their right to decide if they want foreign spectators or not. So you have to respect it. It's disappointing, but if that's what it takes to have the games go on, then I guess so be it. But yeah, it would have been a great experience to share that with, my family and friends.
I know you mentioned you've had the extra year. You're a little older, maybe a little wiser. Can this pandemic, can that delay from last year work in your favor?
Yeah, I think so. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Generally, distance runners don't have their peak years until their late 20s. So each year I get closer to that. I like to think that I'm a little closer to my prime years and will have a better shot at making the team. And another year just being a professional, being in this environment, the rigors of training as a professional are just another level from college. So it's I'd say it's a big opportunity for me, and I like to think it works in my advantage more so than an athlete that maybe is towards the tail end of their career. I definitely view myself as kind of still on the rise, so any extra time to get better, I'll take.
Last question, how much of this is going to be mental for you?
A decent amount. running is quite physical, but when you're out there, your mind starts playing tricks on you. So you have to be pretty strong mentally. I'll be up against former Olympians, American record holders, people that not so long ago I looked up to in the sport. So I know it'll be a challenge, but yeah, the mental side is definitely something that I'll have to master.
All right, Grant, thank you.